In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. It is now home to many diverse First Nations and Inuit Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants will make their and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate online. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All participants will be automatically muted on entry. When your time is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We also ask you mute your devices until you're called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During the time your camera will be enabled, you will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you'll be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during video appearance. People attending in person who wish to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure you include your name, your address, your email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. For the hearing procedures today, I will call each item listed on the agenda in order. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired, and when the committee does not require a presentation, we will let you know. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum 5 minutes to address the committee. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance. The hearing of the hearing and staff and members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first. They'll make a presentation to the committee on the application. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call on speakers in the hearing room first. Everybody that's attended today, thank you. And then those online. Then individuals either in support or opposed will be invited to speak. Yes, I noted that, and as I noted, we'll call on speakers in the hearing room first, and then those online. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they've finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the other speakers. This will mark the end of the decision. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Okay, before we get to this morning's items, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have any minutes that we require to adopt from previous meetings?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we have one set of minutes to adopt. It's from our last hearing on March 26, 2026. Present was Ms. Casson, Mr. Fazeli, Mr. Swartz, Ms. Klein, and Mr. Nipfel.
All right. I have a motion. Mr. Nipfel.
I'd like to move approval of the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do I have a seconder? A second by Mr. Mazziari. All in favor? That's unanimous. All right. That's adopted. All right. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for the items in the morning slot? Mr. Bartolo? Which item?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 8, the agent and I there worked on a file for a common client some time ago.
All right, when we get to that item, we will have you step out and then return once we've made a decision on it. Okay, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, no files, just to confirm, no files to be closed.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right. I've also been notified, we don't have any deferral requests this morning, so we will start with item number 1, number 2, Malcolm Road. This is an application to alter the existing detached dwelling by converting, hold on. Just one moment here. Old file open. I gave the wrong address for item number 1. I'm just making sure I've got the correct hearing file open this morning. Just bear with me here. While we're waiting, do we have our agent online with us? Oh, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Oh, welcome back. Just hang on just a minute here. I'm just loading. All right, there we go. That looks a little more familiar. All right, item number 1, I'm corrected, is 272 Homewood Avenue. All right, this is an application, a consent application to sever the property into 2 undersized residential lots. With that, we've got part 1 and part 2. For part 1, variances include rear deck projection, vehicle access from a front street rather than a flanking street, lot area, lot frontage, lot coverage, right side main wall height, left side main wall height, main pedestrian entrance height, building length, front yard setback, east side yard setback, west side yard setback. And for part 2, again, rear deck projection, lot area, lot frontage, lot coverage, main pedestrian entrance height, building length, front yard setback, east side yard setback, west side yard setback, right side main wall height, and left side main wall height. On file, material from the applicant, report from community planning, I see urban forestry, transportation, as well as form letters in support and 1 letter in objection. So we've got our agent with us. Welcome back.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Jonathan Benskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
All right. Just to confirm, anybody else here to speak to this item? Staff, we have nobody online, right? Okay. Mr. Benkowski, maybe we do have 1 letter of objection. I don't require full presentation on this. I realize it's a pretty extensive file. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they require a full presentation.
I do have 1 change to make, Mr. Chair.
We have some modifications. Okay.
It's just on part 1 and part 2, the
Okay.
platform projection, which is identified as variance number 1 on both part 1 and part 2,
Yep.
will be removed. It doesn't require any change to the plans. Following my retainer, I reviewed it, and it's not required as the projection.
Okay, so variance number 1 on part 1 and part 2.
Correct.
Okay, that's the rear deck projection.
Correct.
Great, so we're going to remove both of those. Members, do we require a full presentation from Mr. Benkowski? No. And, sorry, Ms. Sinkar Peralta, I just got you in my view screen. No, she's saying no. Okay, so yeah, you've heard we don't require full presentation. We've got the modification. I do note there was 1 letter of objection. Maybe you can just speak to that briefly.
I think that letter of objection, Mr. Chair, was more born out of the fear of it becoming a multiplex, which is not the intention. If this were to become a multiplex, we actually would be eliminating variances in front of you. So the intent is not for a multiplex. They are for 2 single-family dwellings.
Okay. And you've had some back and forth with planning on this one. I think in the
Correct.
initial report, they had some concern with even the consent portion. Now they're on.
Correct.
board.
So I have provided in my support materials 2 charts outlining the alterations from the original deferral to where we are today. Following those changes that were made, planning is now in non-objection, and that is reflected in the report submitted by Will, sir.
All right. Okay. If it's all right with you, I can take this into committee.
Absolutely.
Okay. Members, let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think following the consultation between the applicant and the planning department, concerns that I had are now gone. I don't have any difficulty with the application, so I'd be happy to move motions of approval for both the consent and the variances, unless anyone else wishes to speak.
Of course, none, just as modified. We've got the 2,
Okay,
the removal of the 2.
so I'd like to move approval of the consent subject to the standard planning conditions for consent and forestry condition 1 and 2. On the variances, they've both been modified, so approval of the modified variances, subject to the modifications, and there are 2 conditions that the setback of the setback is to be in accordance with the site plan, and the heights of the side exterior main walls are to be developed in accordance to drawings A5 and A7. Also, I'd like to add a condition for part 2 that privacy screening be provided as shown on the site plan drawing. There's a privacy screen illustrated there, and I wouldn't want that to get lost. I think that's the full extent of conditions that have been requested. I think with those conditions, this clearly meets the 4 tests, and I'm pleased to bring forward motions of approval.
Yeah, well, I think we have urban forestry 1 and 2 noted there.
We are removing variances 1 for both parts, right?
Correct, Mr. Nipfel, that's correct?
Yeah, modified, yes.
As modified. All right.
So I second that.
Okay, motion on the floor, second by Mr. Maggiare. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. You have your approval, sir. All right, item number 2, 253 Old Forest Hill Road. The purpose of the application is to construct a new dwelling. 4 variances before us: FSI, building length, building depth, and rear yard setback on file. Material from the applicant, memo from urban forestry, community planning, and we have a late letter of concern from number 244 Old Forest Hill Road. Okay, we've got our agent in person.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. It's Rodney Gill. I'm legal counsel to the owners of the property.
All right. All right, Mr. Gill, I'm going to ask for a brief presentation from you. When you're ready, we'll get the clock up, and the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair. My clients have a young family, and they're looking to build their forever home in Forest Hill at 253 Old Forest Hill Road. What they're proposing requires 4 variances. The variances relate to the floor space index, building length, building depth, and the rear yard setback. There's a positive planning report, which is signed by Ms. Shelley Cham of the City of Toronto, and she's given her independent professional opinion. She's a registered professional planner for all of you folks. I expect you know that. And she's given the view that the minor variances meet the general intent of both the official plan, the zoning bylaw, that they are minor in nature and that they represent the appropriate development of the land. There's also in Urban Forestry's report a condition that they propose. My clients accept and support the condition from Urban Forestry, and City Planning also had a condition, and I'll speak to this at a little bit more length. The condition proposed by City Planning we also support and accept, and it relates to variances 2 and 3. So those go to building depth and building length. What you'll see in their proposed condition is they're trying to link those variances to the side elevation, and that's because the building length and building depth only really relate to the basement level. So my clients are proposing to have a little bit of a larger basement. It's predominantly below grade, and a portion of it, a small portion, is above grade but is going to be covered by a rear deck. So that's the condition. You can see it at the rear of the property, how the basement bumps out a little bit. That's the reason for variances 2 and 3. With respect to floor space index, and Mr. Chair, you noted that there was a late letter of opposition. I've had the opportunity to review it. And my reading of it, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee, it seems that that owner was disappointed that when they went forward for variances, they were told 0.8 FSI was really the upper limit for them. Context matters though, and this is what isn't set out in that opposition letter. There were 13 variances sought in relation to that property, and it's in part because it's a modern form of home with a flat roof. So there were both main wall height variances. There was also a front yard setback variance. So the overall massing of that building presents quite differently than what's proposed by my clients. In terms of FSI in particular, I'll note for the committee that we've identified 13 properties in the immediate vicinity that have had FSI variances, including FSI variances at and above what we're requesting before you today. I'll note them just very briefly for this committee. 49 Ridge Hill Drive at 0.91 FSI, 79 Ridge Hill Drive at 0.91 SFI, 100 Wembley Road at 1.15 FSI. These are all committee approvals. 117 Wembley Road at 0.98 FSI, 11 Forge Ridge Drive at 1.02 FSI, 260 Old Forest Hill Road at 0.9883 FSI. Indeed, the property immediately adjacent has an FSI over 0.8. Now, we don't propose that this be planning by numbers. What we want to suggest is let's take a look at any potential impacts. We don't believe there are any. This has been a thoughtful design in terms of how the massing's deployed. It's principally within the as-of-right building envelope with some minor changes. And even the opposition letter notes that this is predominantly within an as-of-right building envelope. In our submission, it certainly does meet the 4 tests. We agree with city planning's opinion that it does. We agree with the conditions proposed by city staff. And with respect to the opposition letter, we don't agree that this would be a house that's not in keeping with the character of the community. This is an area of Toronto that's typified, and the prevailing nature is single-family detached homes, which are quite large, and this is consistent with the proposal. So we thank the committee for its time, and those are our remarks. Subject to any questions, of course.
All right, thank you. One question for you that I have. So I'm looking at the this walk-up typology, and it does appear to be among the first in the area. And some of the examples you gave, we're looking at a sort of arrangement of the built form whereby the ground floor is entered at grade. You don't have the garage essentially nested under with 2 stories above. I guess I wanted to provide you a little bit of opportunity just perhaps to speak to that, because this is maybe a typology that we're maybe a little less used to seeing in the immediate, even broader area. But then again, I do also acknowledge that you don't have height variances or variances that we would typically see that get triggered by such a typology. But I did want to provide you an opportunity to speak to that a bit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a less frequent typology in the area. That's true. There are a couple in the immediate vicinity that are recent builds, and I think that's being borne out in part because there's more height available than what it used to be. And in terms of taste and preference, I think we're seeing people take advantage of having, larger basements to have usable square footage. In terms of my client's choice with this typology, they actually fell in love with the house next door. And indeed, if they could have gone forward and obtained that house, I think they would have saved themselves the headaches of going through a construction process. And next door, it's very much the same. So, Mr. Chair, it's that they really fell in love with that typology. They like how it creates a presentation into their home to receive guests. And I think we're likely to see more of this as people see examples of it, but that's speculative, admittedly.
Okay. The immediate neighboring property you're talking about is to the, which direction?
Sorry, I'm just ordering. It's 251. So it's-
251.
yeah.
And they liked it because I just note, and maybe I'm mistaken, on either side, we don't have that typology.
The recent build-out has the garage with,
Okay.
lights above. Yeah.
Fair enough, okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna turn to my colleagues to ask, yes, to Ms. March,
Just a quick question. I think I know the answer, but the building length and depth above grade is maintained at 17 meters, correct? And that's the extra 2.48 is just happening at the back below the deck, which is the excavated area.
That, through you, Mr. Chair, it's an extra 2.48 with respect to the one, 0.48 with respect to the other. But that is, yes, just at the basement level. You can see, thank you for putting the drawing up. You can see the main rear wall above grade is at the 17 meters.
That is correct. Yes, thanks.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. All right, if it's all right with you, we'll take this matter into committee. We do have another speaker online. Okay, great. Let's get them here.
Yeah, hi, it's Stan Mako. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Mako.
Okay. Yeah, okay, my name is Stan Mako. I reside at 244 Old Forest Hill Road, and thank you for bringing up the letter that I sent in. And if you just scroll down, I just want to show the proposed house in context of what's there. So the house next door that the applicant just mentioned, that his client really likes, is actually a two-story mass with a dormer roof on top. While this house they have presents as a three-story house, which is a complete anomaly for Old Forest Hill Road. There's only one example of a house that was built recently on the other block, east of Glenard. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that house. Yeah, that one was just built, and I drive by that house every day, and I think, oh my God, this house really does not fit into this neighborhood. It sticks out like a sore thumb. So I have really no objection to the length variances, but I do have an objection to the way the house presents itself. And in my belief, it is not at all what the applicant says as a sensitive fit into the neighborhood. Yes, I did go to community of adjustment myself 7 years ago. There was a lot of concern that the house presents itself as a two-story. Originally, it had a three-story design. I don't think it had anything to do with whether the modern or not modern, but in the end, we came back with a design where the third floor was set back. That's kind of what I was hoping to do here. They call in this particular design that the applicant has proposed, the third floor is actually labeled as the second floor because the garage level is technically called a basement because the ground's going up and they're kind of digging up. However, for all intents and purposes, we are looking at a three-story house, and then there's a fourth story hidden inside that mansard roof. So it's actually 4 stories of house in there. So the density that they're proposing is out of characteristic of Old Forest Hill Road. I don't believe Wembley or Ridge Hill are relevant as comparables to this area. They're, in fact, when the next door neighbor's house, 251 went to T-Lab, they cited that Wembley, that context was different because it goes houses back onto Eglinton, so a higher density there was considered more appropriate. This street, if you look at this picture here right now, all the houses are basically 2-story elements with a roof. And that is going to be changed substantially with this design. If the density wasn't so high, then possibly that top floor could be set back. And another design that I think would be more sensitive architecturally would be able to fit in, and I wouldn't be opposing it under those grounds. I do think that the 0.92 density is a real outlier for Old Forest Hill Road on this block and the block above. That's the context you have to look at. The highest density that was ever approved was this new house at 227, that's 0.84. So we're creating a whole new realm here of densities for this street. I live on this street, and I'm worried that more of these oversized homes that aren't sensitive to the scale of that neighborhood, of this streetscape, are going to be put up. I actually like what they built at 251. If you go back up a slide, I look out of at that house every day, and I think it's a reasonably attractive house. I'm glad that the owner likes it. Let him do one of those, and I'd be fully supportive. That house is a garage on the main floor, and then there's a second story of bedrooms. The main floor is at grade, backyard's accessible from grade, and then there's a third story for extra space. That's what I think the owner should be doing, and I think that would be appropriate development that would be consistent with the architectural character of the street and the intent of the zoning bylaw, which is to fit into the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions? All right. We don't have any other speakers, staff, on this? Okay, let's go back to our agent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's quite important to note that in terms of the built form my clients are proposing, the garage orientation to the 2 levels above it, that's not what's driving any of these variances. So we could have the exact same building envelope with a lower FSI, and there wouldn't be an issue. There's no height variance being sought here. The mansard roof is an important element of this in terms of how it fits into the character of the neighborhood. And in terms of the home you're looking at, 251, its FSI was 0.84. You can see that. The FSI of the one that the objector pointed to at 227, it's 0.85. So it's not FSI that's kind of drawing the objection. It's actually just an aesthetic, stylistic concern. And in terms of the reference to the intent of the zoning bylaw, you have the independent and professional expert opinion of city staff saying it does meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. So we'd ask that you prefer the expert witness, Shelley Sham, who has signed the city's report. Because it's not about aesthetic, it's about, does it meet the intent and purpose of the OP and the zoning bylaw?
Mr. Nifil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned that 251 was the house that your clients actually wanted. And in answer to a question that the chairman asked, I thought he said that 253 basically borrowed a typology from 251. The front elevations of both buildings are on the screen. They are not at all similar. Can you clarify your earlier?
Yes, so I've got the 2 addresses backwards, and it's the
I think
227.
the issue here is the building on the right has a much less dominant impact on the street than the one on the left, which is the one that you're asking for permission to. And the objector has argued that there is only one other house, not a pile of houses, only one other house that might reflect this kind of built form. And I would argue that this isn't stylistic. This is a particular form of development where the integral garage is underneath and everything else is piled on top of it. So I'm a bit confused by your earlier comments.
So to be clear, let's focus on the minor variances, right? So through you, Mr. Chair, we're not seeking a height variance. The building depth and the building length we've spoken to, and there's a condition that ensures that it doesn't change the amount of rear area dedicated to soft landscaping and things like that, because there's going to be a porch above. And then in terms of having the garage integrated as we have in the design, again, that's not driving the variances. We could show this exact same design with a lower FSI, and it'd be the same. So, you know, through you, Mr. Chair, I do think this is a stylistic comment because we're not talking about different shadow impacts. We're not talking about anything like that. The massing is principally as of right in terms of what you're seeing. So when you get into the 4 tests and you evaluate what is the official plan telling us about this, the typology is shown. Like, indeed, if you look at 251, you're seeing the dormer above. Arguably, it presents as the 3-story home. So, Mr. Chair, I think we have to focus on, well, what is the 4 tests speaking to? And is it about this aesthetic, stylistic? And we might just have a disagreement on how we phrase or characterize that, fair enough. In terms of the objector, if you look at that home that they've built, it is quite different than most of the other homes in the area in terms of how it presents with a reduced front yard setback, and a greater exterior main wall heights to present as a more dominant 2-story building with a recessed 3rd story with a pretty similar FSI, like we're talking about fractions of a point here. So the overall size of this home, how it presents on the property, we would say is quite consistent with this area of Forest Hill.
Thank you.
With respect to the FSI, that number, that's coming from the ground level, 2nd level, and partial 3rd level? Is there any FSI coming out of the basement as a result of the proximity of that basement towards established grade?
No, there isn't. So it's what you said. It's
Okay.
the 1st, 2nd, and that partial 3rd, 4th.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
Can I say something, or is it too late?
Unfortunately not, no. We can only, no. Okay, thank you. Let's take this into committee for brief discussion. Who would like to get us started? I've got a few comments myself, but I want to give members an opportunity. Mr. Nipfel?
Just briefly, I thought the presentation, both the submitted presentation and the verbal presentation by the opposition in this case was convincing. I am not going to be able to support this application in large part because of those convincing arguments.
Okay. Mr. Maggiari?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the neighbor in terms of build form. I think it's not a common build form, but on the other side, we're dealing with these 4 variances, and I think the build form doesn't create any height variance or number of stories. So generally, I think it's a supportable application to me because the 4 variances are reasonable. So
Yeah, fair enough. Mr. Archer, I agree. I think where I get hung up is the FSI, and this is one that's always open for discussion. I share that observation, certainly, that we've got a length and depth and a rear yard setback that's not triggered by the typology itself. I think the FSI, though, is a bit more of a gray area. When we look at FSI, when I look at FSI, what I'm trying to determine is whether the additional density is contributing to a massing or a form that is undesirable. In this case, that's why I asked the question with respect to the FSI, whether the basement level is at all contributing towards that. I guess the argument on Mr. Niffel's side that I see is, if you're allowing FSI to go above and beyond, that 0.92 of space really only starts at a certain height in the house. Whereas perhaps in other houses that are afforded similar FSIs above and beyond, a lot of that space, or a large portion of that space might be attributed towards area in the house that is closer to grade. So I think that's where I certainly am getting hung up on variance number 1. I think 2, 3, and 4 are supportable, but I'd like to hear from, if there's some comment from other members, I'd be open to hear from them on this. Mr. Bartolo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd have to agree with Mr. Mazziarati. The, like the front elevation, the street elevation, this house can be built with or without these variances, and it can look exactly the same as it does now. So from that street view, that stylistic perspective, I don't think any of these variances are driving that to a significant degree. I understand what you're saying about the massing and the FSI and kind of where it's located within the house can influence some of that, but ultimately, there's no height variance, there's no restrictions on putting this garage in this location. So if you want to design something less stylistically and just build as of right in conformance with the rest of the variances, you could certainly do that and just go straight to a building permit and nobody could stop you. So while it may not be typical or the norm within the neighborhood, it's certainly permissible. On balance, the rest of the variances, I don't really have a problem with. The length and depth are largely a factor of that semi-recessed portion of the basement there. And I don't think the FSI is anything too drastic, and frankly, a good chunk of it is still within that third story roof line, which is largely concealed, and which if you eliminated, you'd be much closer to compliance and maybe even in compliance. So when I look at, the overall design and the intent of it, I think it's a supportable application, meets the 4 tests.
All right.
Just one more note.
Yes, Mr. Marger.
In terms of, in regard with FSI, I think the 3rd floor can be just an attic space. So I think that addition, removal of that addition can bring the FSI down to whatever is approved in the neighborhood. So I don't think it's actually changed the build form.
Yeah.
So it's just the use of the roof space, which I think is smart. So that variance is not actually concerning to me.
All right. We have maybe a motion.
I can try a motion.
Yes, Mr. Margeri.
So I forward a motion to approve this application as subject to community planning condition that the variance number 2 and 3 regarding building length and depth to be developed substantially in accordance with the side elevation drawing submitted to the report, and also forestry condition number 1.
Okay. We have a second by Ms. Sankar Peralta. Thank you very much for that. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Nitfil Allison, the motion carries. The application is approved with modification and condition. We had modification on that? No, modification. I'm sorry. Application is approved with condition. Okay. Thank you very much. We're moving on to item number 3, 25 Lynch Road. The purpose of the application is to legalize and maintain the canopy in the rear yard. We have 5 variances before us: lot coverage, rear yard soft landscaping, rear yard setback for an ancillary building, eave setback for an ancillary building, and east side yard setback for an ancillary building. On file, material from the applicant, letters in support. We have an older counselor letter, an OMB decision in our file, as well as a late community planning report. Okay, we have our agent with us.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Ida Evangelista.
I recognize that voice. Is Miss Evangelista? I heard yes.
Good
Yes,
morning.
There we go. It got your volume up.
Okay.
Welcome
I
back.
was just
Miss-
a little
Miss
too far
Evangelista.
away.
Yeah.
I'm having
Okay.
technical problems. I'm having technical problems this morning, so forgive me. Good morning. How are you? I'm here on behalf of the owner at 25 Lynch.
All right.
And-
And your address for the record?
53 Bentworth Avenue, Toronto.
All right. Miss Evangelista, we had a late community planning staff report. I just want to ask you if you have received it.
I have, Mr. Chair, and unfortunately, we had a conversation after the report was written. Usually staff does reach out to me prior to. A couple of things that I just want to point out. with this particular application, because we've been at this application for quite a long time. I'd say probably going on to year 3 now. So with this particular property, I read the letter from Councillor Carroll. It's not quite accurate, so that's why I provided the OMB decision, because I didn't want you to think that this canopy was built in a frivolous and malicious manner. There were 2 canopies in the backyard of this home to provide for some shelter. And with this, and the conversation that I had with staff, and one of the changes that we are making is there is some landscaping interlock stone in the rear yard, which provides kind of like a little access area. I've sent pictures in so that you could see what the rear yard looks like. But if you can just indulge me just so that I can go over, because I don't quite agree with planning's report. The canopy that was built, and as you could see right there on that first page, there were 2 canopies there that were unsafe, and the owners rebuilt it. And it's an open space area, and you'll see that the interlock, most of that backyard is greenscape with pervious land. There is an area that does have interlock stone, which also permeates into the ground. And I think what's happening with planning is they're just kind of looking at the number. They're not looking at the context of the application. Because with the greatest of respect, I believe this does, enhance the usability of the rear yard amenity space. It's open, it's unenclosed, it maintains the outdoor character of the yard while providing some weather protection. They have elderly parents that gave them that gives them an area where they can, kind of an area of refuge where they can just, enjoy the outside amenity space. It's not habitable, as you can see. Now, the owner owns both properties, 25 and 27. He constructed a new fence. He put a leader board against the posts, so the canopy abuts the posts, not the fence. It also does not abut the fence in the rear yard. You've seen that we've provided 33 letters of support. The owners are quite known in the neighborhood. They reached out. We have letters of support from the immediate neighbors that are okay with this. They support this canopy because a lot of people in the neighborhood also have the same structures. So we are not deviating from, what already exists in this neighborhood. So, I understand, the intent of regulating lot coverage is to ensure adequate open space drainage and prevent overdevelopment. And what we're proposing, it maintains the permeable landscape area in the rear yard. It does not function as a building and in its traditional sense, and it does not undermine the broader intent of the bylaw. With respect, I state that this represents good planning, and it's not something that deviates from what is already in the neighborhood. It supports stable residential neighborhood through low scale improvements, and it's reasonable, a sensitive form of development that contributes positively to the property without creating adverse impacts. It does not, there's no adverse impacts to neighboring properties, no shadowing, no privacy issues, no overlook, no massing. It's, the visual and physical presence is very lightweight. And it doesn't have any negligible impact on drainage and permeability. So with this, I state that it maintains the intent of both the OP and ZBL, and it is desirable and appropriate for the property. And open to any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Questions? Yes, Mr. Nifil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Evangelista, you have me at a disadvantage. The drawings that I have before me do not reflect what you're talking about. If you look at the drawings that we have, number 25, that's the correct address, doesn't show any soft landscaping at all. It shows an asphalt driveway in the backyard. And then there's another picture, and it's a semi, and there's a driveway, an interlocking walkway, I guess, that goes along one side where it isn't attached to the semi-detached. If you go to the next drawing, it's the same thing. Asphalt driveway in the backyard, and
That's the front yard.
my mistake. Thank you very much. Now that begins to make sense. So can you explain on that drawing where the canopy is?
So the canopy, through you, Mr. Chair, the canopy is, so if you look at drawing A01, it's in the north. So, yeah, if you stop right there, yeah. So it's east. Okay, that's the front of the property, and that's the rear of the property. Where you'll see you have the walkout along the side of the house takes you,
Yep.
and then you also have a sliding door at the back, and you walk out, and there is the see the interlock stone, and then the rest is all grass. Underneath that canopy, there is a fountain.
So I'm
And-
still trying to get the delineation of the canopy. Where is the canopy shown on this drawing?
Okay, so the canopy is in the, I'll tell you.
Upper right corner? And
It's
is
the
it,
northwest corner. See where it
okay,
reads plan?
And the area that you say is grass isn't labeled, so it's the area that's below the canopy. Let's use this drawing. And the canopy is from that horizontal line north, is that right?
Correct. So it's in the rear.
Okay, that clarifies it, because I couldn't make head nor tail out of the other drawing, but I understand what you're saying now. Thank you, that's good for clarification.
Yeah, it's just right in that rear northwest corner. And the whole backyard, other than that area where you walk out from the back door, that's the only area of interlock. The rest of the backyard is grass.
Mr. Chair, if I could just pause this for a second. We'd like to put up the counselor's letter. It may have been missed in your package.
Yes, please.
So please take a moment to take a look.
Can I speak to the counselor's letter?
Yes, I do want to provide you an opportunity to address it whenever you're ready.
So the counselor also mentions, previous, the driveway. I think it was back in, the OMB decision's 2014, so prior to, I think it was 2012. And I would like to state, and I did provide letters. The counselor for the driveway did support the owner. And the owner did go to C of A. It was refused. adjusted it, and it was refused, went to the OMB, and it was approved. So, and she did support back then, because the neighbor, and the whole neighborhood is similar to what Terry was doing at 25. So with the canopies, I understand, there are a lot of, after the fact, and it's not perceived well. But, as I mentioned to the counselor's office, after I saw this, I did reach out to them. And I did want to state to them that, there were canopies there. This was just to replace what was existing, just to be a little bit more sturdier, because the last structures weren't safe. So this was just a more sturdier canopy to provide some shade and, just an area just to sit under and just relax. Unfortunately, the letter was already written, and, I believe staff was going to talk to the counselor and just let her know that, this wasn't done in a malicious way. This wasn't, I'm just going to build what I want to build and, and beg for forgiveness later. This was something to replace what was there, and just to build what was there, and just to carry on with, believing and thinking that I already had 2 canopies here, and I'm just doing what I had. So that was the sole premise of why he did what he did. There wasn't any other, malicious intent, or, no smart alecky, feeling that they were going to do this. It was just a true mistake on their part, per se. So I explained all of this to the counselor's office, and, they understand, but, I was told that when they do go through all the applications, and then when, something stands out such as this, they do have to write a report on it. So that's what brings us here. I don't, she was in support, with the previous. They were on the understanding that this was built, just something that, was done in a malicious manner. So I just wanted to clarify that. I don't believe that, we should paint every application with the same brush. In this particular application, it was, just something to replace what was there.
Yeah, Mr. Nipfel.
When you indicate that it was to replace what was there, did it have an approval? Did it get the appropriate approvals to be built, the other 2 canopies? And did those canopies comply with the zoning bylaw? Because presumably they would have also needed variances, which were not granted, or you wouldn't be here.
So going back, because it was under the old North York bylaw 7625, the 2 canopies that he had there, I for lack of better words, I want to say they were, tents. One did have a permanent structure, that, permanent roof, and the other one was more of a tent place. They were 2 areas, it was the same size. It wasn't required to have permits back then, because we're going back into the probably early 90s, if not late 90s to early 2000. So it wasn't required. Now, because the structure is more of a roof-like structure, he's now found out that, a permit was required in this sense. What he had prior, it wasn't required. And I believe one structure was 12 by 12, and the other one also 12 by 12.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Nipfel?
Yes, it does. Yeah, we
Yes,
do.
thank you.
We have another speaker I'd like to hear from. We have our one other, right?
We do, Mr. Chair, however, they're not online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And as I mentioned, they did talk to all the area residents and especially those that would be immediately affected. And they did sign a letter of support. There was one that I believe could not because conflict of interest. They were a city employee and just wanted to kind of recuse himself, which is understandable.
All right, Mr. Marziali has a question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. On the drawing, it's noted as, for the hardscape part of the rear yard, it's noted as interlock pavers, and also I can see on the photos it's interlocked, but as per the interlock specification that it's being used there, is it considered as permeable or it's just a standard interlock?
I believe it is permeable. And what they've done is there's a gap between each stone.
Yeah, the permeables comes with those projections that allows the water going.
Yeah,
So-
they've never had a problem or situation with ponding or pooling or flooding in the backyard with the existing stone that they have. It is permeable.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions? I think we're ready to take this into committee. Okay, let's move this into committee. Who would like to get us started? Ms. Sinkar?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, sometimes I'm also very sort of heavy-handed when it comes to structures that seem already pre-built and seemingly premeditated. I don't like to set precedents over that. However, in this case, and I did wish that they had provided a lot more sort of photos that showed, the extent of it. But from looking at the actual photo that was up on the screen, it's an open area. There's permeable pavers. There's still a lot of green space. You've got 31 huge letters of support, which actually makes me feel a lot more peaceful about it. And I think I accept the explanations that have been provided that there's been two preceding structures. For me, I could see myself supporting this based on all of the above.
Other comments? Mr. Marziari?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Ms. Sankar. I think I had a bit of concern about the soft landscaping, but I can see it's paved, it's concrete unit pavers, and even if it's not permeable, it allows water going to some extent. So it's a lot of hardscape at the front, but we're not dealing with that. So overall, I think it's a supportable application. It's not like creating any building at the back or. So I don't have that much concern with it.
All right, thank you. I'll be honest, I think my issue, if I have any issue with this, it has to do with the soft landscaping. Particularly because there is a 0 in the front, which I think is very difficult. And while I understand it's not part of the application, I argue I think there is some leniency given in when we have deficiencies in soft yard landscaping, either in the front or the rear. We look at the opposite, so we look at the totality of the lot. I think Mr. Bartolo has brought that up in previous hearings. I have a bit of concern. I'm going back to the 2014 OMB decision. I did read the decision in its entirety. It's pretty short. Member Rossi notes in the decision that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws are maintained. The applicant proposes to reduce the driveway and to provide front yard landscaping generally and front yard soft landscaping specifically. It will provide an improvement to the overall existing condition, which has been unchanged for the last 25 years. Then I go to the site plan and I don't see any soft landscaping. I see AstroTurf. Maybe that's what they're referring to, which is a strip down the side. But we all know that's hardscaping. So I take a bit of concern, comfort with this application because, they're putting forth evidence here that shows actually the contrary. They've not followed the OMB order. I'd argue that they're actually in violation of the OMB decision because they were supposed to provide some soft yard landscaping in the front yard. There's none. Now they're back. We're now looking at the backyard. We have a deficiency of soft yard landscaping there, which is, I don't think, insignificant quantitatively. Now, because of the neighbors' support, Ms. Sankar brought up, you know, we've got some support. We don't have any neighbors, at least that have shown up today, in opposition. I think the other variances with respect to the setbacks and the, you know, the structure itself are somewhat, you know, they're palatable, but for me personally, I'm hung up on the soft yard landscaping, particularly when I see that the OMB decision is not, has not been followed. So on the totality of the lot, I think it's too much of a deficiency at the rear. Mr. Nipfeld?
I'm persuaded by the planning department report. They clearly indicate that this isn't just an approval for a patio cover, but it's for a variety of variances. And like you, Mr. Chairman, my biggest concern has to do with the soft landscaping. We don't know if that paving in the backyard is interlocking or not, but based on the fact that it was probably put in a long time ago and the way in which the rest of this property has been maintained and upgraded, I would argue it's probably not interlocking paving. It requires a substrate that allows water to go through. We don't know that it has that. The drawings are not helping the applicant because they are not that clear. But just looking at the landscaping, I would argue that that's just not acceptable and not in keeping with Fortest, so I will be unable to support this application.
All right. Mr. Bartolo, I haven't heard from you, but maybe we're ready for a...
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I'm of the same general opinion as Mr. Nimfeld. Like, in principle, nobody has a problem with a little canopy cover or shade cover as in the backyard. Part of it is the way this came about. Part of it is the overall deficiency in landscaping, as you mentioned. And then part of it is the numerical difference in the rear yard for the landscaping. So on balance, I don't know that this is a supportable application. I don't like making people do rework or having to take things down that have been done. It doesn't sit well with me, but some of these kind of these various issues, as well as just the overall numeric value of it, I don't think it's a supportable application.
Heard from everybody. We have maybe a motion. See where it goes. Mr. Nipfeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that the application be refused as it does not meet the four tests.
All right, do I have a seconder for that? Mr. Bartolo, all in favor? Opposed? Ms. Sankar and Mr. Margiari are opposed. Okay, that application, motion carries, the application is refused. How are we doing? Do we need a short relief break? Members, it's 11 now. Why don't we take 5 and we'll resume at 11:15 a.m. All right, we're back. We're on item number 488 Merton Street. The purpose of the application is to construct a front entry addition with a porch and a new detached garage in the rear yard. 2 variances required, front yard setback and west side yard setback. On file, material from the applicant, memo from community planning, as well as some letters in support. We have our agent with us.
Hello, yes.
Hello.
Good morning, members. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Lynn Houston, 49 Oakcrest Avenue. I'm the representative for the owners.
All right. Staff, we have anybody online to speak to this item? None? Nobody here in person? All right. Just hang in there. Ms. Houston, are you familiar with the staff report from community planning dated April 9th?
Yes,
You've read that, and no concern with the request to tie any potential approval to the attached site plan in the report?
no, the site plan matches exactly what I submitted, and that's what's intended to be built.
Okay, I'm gonna ask my colleagues if they would like a presentation. I don't think so. I think we can move this right into committee if it's all right with you.
That would be perfect.
All right, let's take this into committee. Yes, Ms. Sankar.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I do believe that this application seems minor. Reading through it, I didn't see that staff had any concerns whatsoever. There's ample letters of support and new ones that came in. I'll put forward a motion to approve this application and make it subject to the April 9th staff report. And that's it.
All right. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Mr. Nifil. All in favor? Oh, before that, Mr. Nifil, I think we may have a ravine condition on there. Let's just verify. I don't see report. Oh, maybe it's in a late package. Yeah, staff, let's just pull it up. Make sure. I don't have anything.
The only late item I received was a letter of support.
Staff, did you, did we miss a, oh, it was an error. Okay, so we're good. We had a motion from Ms. Sankar that was seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. That application is approved. All right, sorry about that confusion. We're moving along to item number 5 OXBOW Road. The purpose of the application is to construct a new dwelling and accessory structure, specifically a pool cabana. We've got 6 variances: west side yard setback, lot coverage, building height, driveway width, ancillary building height, ancillary building entrance height. On file, material from the applicant, I see community planning, ravine, natural forestry, TRCA, and transportation. We have our agent with us.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Alexander Overholt from 1140 the Queensway, Etobicoke.
All right. Staff, anybody here to speak to this item? None, and nobody in the gallery. All right. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they'd like a presentation on this item. All right. Doesn't appear so. All right. And, okay, let's go to Mr. Overholt. Mr. Overholt, you're familiar, we've got some conditions noted in the community planning report, as well as a request with urban forestry, condition number 1. Are you aware of that? And any
Completely
concern?
aware. No
Okay.
concerns. Happy to move forward with the conditions.
All right, that's great. Okay, let's take this into committee. Ms. Sinkar.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, having read through the entire application, I don't see that there is an issue that jumps out at me as something that does not meet the four tests. And so as a result, I'm feeling fairly confident in this application. Unless my colleagues have other opinions, I can put forward a motion, a favorable motion.
Sure, yeah, please go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, so I'll put forward a motion to approve this application, and I will make it subject to the April 9th staff report with that condition. There were no conditions that I saw listed for transportation or Riverina Natural Protection. They just said they had no objection, so I'll leave it just subject to, you know, the community planning report of April 9th.
Sure, Ms. Sankar, I may be mistaken, but I'm on the RNFP report. I do see urban forestry condition number 1 request. Maybe staff we can pull that up. Is that, did I? Oh, it's not in the package, Mr. Marzieri? Staff have it up on the screen.
Okay, so I guess I missed that one because in the general package, I did not see that, and having read no objections from Riverina Natural Features, so I can put it, I can add that urban forestry condition number 1 as well.
All right, so we have community planning conditions, motion for approval, condition of community planning report, and the RNFP condition. Mr. Nipfel?
Yes, would the mover entertain a friendly amendment that requires that the rear deck or the rear platform remain unenclosed so that it doesn't become part of the gross floor area?
Absolutely, I'll honor that, Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you.
All right, staff, we captured that amendment there, 2 conditions plus the condition of the deck remaining unenclosed. Mr. Nipfel, would you like to second Ms. Sankar's motion,
Certainly.
perhaps?
My pleasure.
Yes, okay, I thought you might. Okay, we've got motion, we got second by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. That application is approved with condition.
Thank you. You made a family very happy today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Overholt. Okay, item number 6, 19 HILLHURST Boulevard. The purpose of the application is to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition and a 3rd-story addition. Variances include rear deck projection, side main wall height, FSI, and building length. On file, material from the applicant, report from community planning, and 1 letter in opposition. We have our agent in person.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Last name's Bronskill, first initial D for David, 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400 in Toronto, here as agent for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Bronskill. Anybody in person to speak to this item? Staff, anybody online? None. Okay. All right, before we get into the item, we have declaration of interest. Oh, not on this item.
We're on item number 6, correct, Mr. Chair?
Yes, did
Which is-
somebody say item number 8? I heard.
I may be adding to the confusion, Mr. Chair. I'm number 6 and number 8.
Oh,
That's
that's the
probably
confusion.
what's causing the confusion.
okay. So just maybe let's get that on the record. So we have a member stepping, declaring a conflict of interest, Mr. Bartolo. The reason for that declaration
I
of
the
interest?
agent and I worked for a common client on a file some time ago, but I'll step away for number 6 and number 8. So
Okay.
the agent on that.
All right, very good. Okay, so Mr. Bartolo is stepping out. All right, Mr. Bronskill, I'm going to ask, in the interest of time, I'm going to ask my colleagues if they'd like a presentation for item number 6, number 19, HILLHURST Boulevard. Okay, I see no heads shaking, so
For the record, Mr. Chair, we are supportive of the recommended condition from planning staff as well, if that's okay.
That was my next question. Yes, thank you, Mr. Bronskill. All right, if it's all right with you, I'm ready to take this into committee.
Very all right, sir.
All right, let's move into committee now. Who'd like to get us started? Mr. Marziari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a reasonable application. There's no objection. Planning supported, so I don't have any concern, and I'm ready to make a motion.
Sure.
I mean,
Mr. Marziari, I just, I don't know if you can speak to it, but there was some just concern in the one letter of opposition with regards to the massing. I don't know if you have any kind of comments to share with respect to the built form. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. I think it's mainly referring to FSI. I think setbacks are maintained, the building length is maintained. It's a bit height variance is requested, but it's not that much concerning to me. So.
Yeah, and I just looking, my observation is the rear main wall is more or less sort of in line with the immediate neighbors. There's enough depth that the lots can support a little bit of bumping out at the rear.
Yeah, the site plan is actually very good.
Yes.
Showing the neighbor, so I think overall it's aligned with the neighbors. So.
Okay, maybe a motion?
Yeah, of course. So I put forward a motion to approve this application subject to community planning condition.
All right, very good. Do I have a second by Ms. Sankar Peralta? Thank you very much. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. You have that approval. All right, we'll see you in just a moment. So we're on to item number 7 now, 142 Haddington Avenue. Purpose of the application is to construct a new detached dwelling with an integral garage and second-story terrace. We have variances for building length, second-story terrace platform area, lot coverage, driveway width, and west side yard setback. On file material from the applicant. I see correspondence with transportation, urban forestry memo, community planning, and 2 form letters in support. We have Mr. Rubinoff online today.
Yes, good morning. It's Glenn Rubinoff from Rubinoff Design Group, 2 St. Clair Avenue West.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rubinoff. Staff, no one else online to speak to this item? All right. Mr. Rubinoff, I'm going to ask my colleagues if they would like a presentation from you.
All right.
All right. I see no request. Let's just see here. And Mr. Rubinoff, you're familiar with the community planning staff report, the recommendation noted in there?
Absolutely. We spoke with community planning and made an edit to the back terrace to minimize the impact on the neighborhood as per their requests. And we feel that with the with their review and with the support, we feel that this is a minor application.
All right, and you are aware of the urban forestry standard condition and the transportation conditions as well, I
Condition
presume?
number 3. Yeah.
All right, if it's all right with you, I'll take this into committee.
All right.
All right, let's move into committee. Ms. Sankar?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I have gone through this application. I do know that the side neighbor has provided support. The applicant is in agreement with following the conditions set forth by planning as well as transportation, and it is subject to forestry. I'm ready to make a motion that's in favor of this application, if no one else.
I don't think you have any objection.
Okay,
Please,
so
yeah.
I'll put forward a motion to approve this application and make it subject to, of course, forestry and subject to the April a second transportation report and recommendations, as well as subject to community planning, the report of April 9th.
Sorry, in the first one, we did capture the urban forestry, right?
Yes, we did
Yes,
condition number three.
Number 3, yeah.
Okay. And are there did she have transportation conditions as well?
Yes, yeah, this
Okay.
transportation
Yes.
and community planning.
Okay.
Second by Mr. Nipfel. All right, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rubinoff. All right, we have a declaration of interest for item number 8. Mr. Bartolo is going to step out. For the record, I'll just Mr. Bartolo, if we just get you back, just for due diligence, I want to make sure. Is he back? Do we need a stated reason again? Same applicant. We have it on item number 6.
Through you, Mr. Clare, I think he formally declared at the beginning.
He did, yeah.
It was item number 6, which we didn't know of.
Right. Okay, but he did state the reason for his.
Right, if you want, you can repeat it yourself.
Sure. He worked on a previous project
It's a
with
common agent.
the agent. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Very good.
Mr.
So,
Chairman, my
yes,
apologies.
Mr. Nipfel.
Buried in the agenda, under a letter of support is a submission by a neighbor, and the neighbor is represented by a lawyer that I'm very familiar with, so I should declare conflict as well.
all right. So we have another declaration of interest from Mr. Nipfel. He's stated the reason on the record. Mr. Nipfel will get you to step out for this item. We still have quorum, so we will continue with item number 8. We've got Mr. Bronskill back. So item number 8, 168 Sandringham Drive. The purpose of the application is to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, front porch, rear balconies, and an ancillary structure. In the rear yard, variances include rear deck projection, building height, side main wall height, building length, building depth, driveway width, number of second-story rear platforms, second-story rear platform area, front stair width, and a floor area for an ancillary building. On file material from the applicant, urban forestry memo, a memo from community planning, transportation, TRCA, a letter from the counselor, and 1 letter in support. All right. Just to get a bit of housekeeping out of the way, nobody here is here to speak to this item other than Mr. Bronskill, which you've got at the podium, and staff, nobody online. All right, very well.
Thank you, sir. Just formally again, last name's Bronskill, first initial D for David, here as agent for the applicant, 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400, Toronto. Mr. Chair, just through you to staff, I am going to refer to the planning memo at the outset to do some modifications.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I may pull up page 8 of the arborist report just to deal with the urban forestry memo.
All right, let's start with the revisions. If we can start with the public notice.
Yes.
I see we have a redlined public notice. I presume that's in line with your revisions today?
Correct, sir. Variance 2, the height was proposed at 11.14, so just formally for the record, planning asked for 10.99, that's acceptable. Variance 3, proposed 10.61, planning staff asked for 10.45, again, we are making that revision. And variance 8, which is the second-story platform, the notice indicates 26.76. They asked it to come down to 14, and again, that's acceptable, so we're making that revision. So it's those 3 revisions, Mr. Chair. And then the conditions that are then proposed by planning staff are acceptable to my client as well. There's 3 conditions. Should you see fit to approve it, that we would accept as conditions if you authorize the variances.
All right, and just for the record, I presume the modifications you made on the floor on the redlined public notice, they are in line with the community planning report's recommendations?
They are.
Okay, very good. Let's address the forestry. I
Yes, sir.
do note a recommendation for refusal of the length and depth due to some trees, which they did not provide photos of, but they are, I believe, noted in the arborist report.
They are, sir.
Maybe you can provide us some context as to what's going on there. I'd like to see if we can pull up in the arborist report. I'd like to see these trees, and maybe you can identify them for us on the site plan. And
I can, sir.
Okay.
If page, just part of the issue we have with the memo, sir, and if page 8, apologies, feel like I'm at the doctor's with an eye exam. I'll see if I can get to it. But page 8, you can see that the arborist has listed trees proposed for removal versus trees proposed for injury. What is puzzling about the memo from Urban Forestry is that the trees 48 to 51 are not proposed for removal, they're proposed for injury. So Urban Forestry just have it wrong. And I don't have an explanation for that because they did not reach out. My client's arborist did reach out to staff immediately upon receiving the memorandum. I have the email from Mr. Tomlinson. He detailed for them, and I can go through it, Mr. Chair, for you. The proposal does not entail the possible removal of trees 48 and 50. The excavation and root pruning is proposed entirely outside the distance thresholds, potentially integral to their immediate stability or their water uptake capacity, and he then has a bunch of citations. Trees 49 and 51, he notes that exploratory excavation isn't even feasible until the hedge is removed. That's why he's suggesting post-permit exploratory excavation. Further permission would be sought if the roots are of certain sizes are encountered. If this is unacceptable, it's disappointing that Urban Forestry has expressed its disapproval while offering no constructive alternative whatsoever in the memorandum. So he's gone back and has not heard anything from Urban Forestry from them. They are 4 trees that would, Mr. Chair, be on the west side to the rear of the dwelling. They're actually either on the adjacent property or boundary trees, so we can't actually remove them without the neighbor's permission as well. So it really is a puzzling memo. We would respectfully suggest to the committee, rather than refusing, to put the alternate condition on. There will then be a permitting process. The discussion would continue in respect of those 4 trees, which we do not want to remove. This is a beautiful lot. I mean, if you're familiar with this street, these are gorgeous lots. Deep ravine lots, beautiful big homes resulting from the size of the lots and the ravine lots. I've had the, not to be in the back of this yard, but in another one on the street, and it is paradise in the city. What our client has done with Mr. Tomlinson is, in fact, done a full ravine restoration program that TRCA has also reviewed. And so there's some voluntary stewardship actually going on the property. So they're not out to remove trees. And so Mr. Tomlinson, for example, noted that trees 40 and 41, there's a voluntary removal because they're invasive Siberian elms. So I don't think he's particularly happy with Urban Forestry, if I can put it that way. Whereas we've got TRCA completely happy, and the councillor completely happy, and the neighbors completely happy. So I'm going to suggest Urban Forestry is an outlier. Let's let that permit process occur for the injury for those 4 trees. In my respectful submission, I think that's the best way to resolve this.
Maybe we can pull the site plan up. Maybe you can, at least for myself, I'd like to understand what the relationship is of these 4, call them boundary trees.
There's also, Mr. Chair, what might be helpful is the tree protection plan, which if sorry to staff
Sure.
to make
This is in the arborist report?
No, it's a standalone on the AIC. At least I downloaded it as a standalone on the AIC. It might have been near the end for staff of the materials when I saw it, although maybe yours aren't in the same order. I had it as a single page document. Because it actually has the numbers, which is why the tree protection plan is helpful. You can see on the plan for Mr. Tomlinson that he's got the tree protection zones, he's got areas of exploratory excavation, and you can faintly see the house next to it, which is the only reason I'd suggested it's the best plan.
Might not be in our package. I was specifically, in my preparation work, I was specifically looking for something to that effect. I mean, when we're dealing with
I know it's on the AIC because I downloaded it and then I actually had trouble reading my hard copy and was just looking at it on my computer right now.
I mean, if we pulled up the site plan, can you give us a
I can
general
vaguely,
idea?
yeah, I can do that. I
Okay.
can vaguely tell you where they
Because
are.
the site plan's helpful so much in that it shows the existing building, the
Yeah.
proposed footprint, and then we can get an idea of where those trees are landing.
I also long for the days when I could actually go up and point on the screen for you too, but I know I'm not allowed to do that. There it is. Thank you, staff. That, I think, will do it. So you can see, if staff, I'm going to, again, sorry to ask you to do this, zoom in on the left side of the drawing, adjacent to the back corner of the house. That's really helpful, yeah. The big red line is tree 45, and then you come up from that and you'll see a cluster, and it's 47, 48, 49, 50. That tree on the left there is the Gretzky tree, 99, and then you'll see one more, 51. So if you see them there on the left side, 99 is that left tree. The one above it to the right is 51. The one just below it to the right is 50. And then below 50, obviously, is 49 and 48. So it's those four trees clustered in the back corner near and just beyond that covered deck area. So they're technically beyond the rear corner of the house, but there is a bit of excavation in that area because there is a foundation footing for the covered. You come out at grade under a covered portion of the either platform or porch there. And so they're to the left of that. There is some moderate intrusion for a few of the trees into the tree protection zone, but Mr. Tomlinson believes all of the trees can stay. And as I noted to you, sir, they sit kind of on the boundary or just on the other property. So we do have to be mindful of the neighbor's interest in those trees as well.
In this case, I'm having a little difficulty just determining where the property line is. Is it the fatter shaded gray line?
Yeah, it's the shaded gray line, and there's so much on this plan. And again, I apologize to staff. If they just slide up or down, once you lose the trees, you can then see where the property line is, or at least what
it's also hard. I mean, I'm trying to also determine whether the trees.
It's that dark gray line, sir, right, that you see there.
Yes.
coming down.
Okay. So to your comment about the trees being property line trees, I'm just trying to, and again, it's hard with all the canopy, but it looks like you are correct in that observation. A lot of these trees are either on the property line or slightly on the neighbor's side?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you had any discussion with the immediate neighbor next door? I presume that's 166?
Our client has talked to different neighbors. As you note, there is one email from the owner of 162 who had a concern about drainage and grading. And we've provided the undertaking that there'd be no adverse drainage issues both during and after construction. And then had conversations with the other neighbor. Hasn't signed anything, Mr. Chair, but didn't express any concerns. And Mr. Chair, last thing I would just say again, I would go back to my comments about the ravine stewardship. I think part of this package that has been presented into the community is that while there are some trees removed, some are for voluntary stewardship, and overall there's a desire to ensure that the health of the ravine, which is to the north, is actually enhanced through approval of this application.
Okay. So the trees that we identified on the site plan, they are on, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, they're on the other neighbor's side, number 172. And the neighbor that wrote in concern number 162, the number does jump. They are the immediate neighbor.
Yeah, 162.
But they're on the opposite side of those trees.
Yeah, 162, Mr. Chair, I believe is the other side. Let me just double check.
Yep.
Yeah, the numbers do jump, but 162, I believe, is the other side. The only reason I paused here is 48 to me is a bit unclear whether I would call it a boundary tree or entirely in the other property. I can't tell you that with 100% certainty, which is why I hedge a little bit whether it's a boundary or entirely on the neighbor's property.
What's the intention with these trees along the property line? Because I mean, realistically, they're not all going to be saved. I mean, when you get, the house is getting that close.
There are some, so on this tree protection plan, the trees that have red circles are
Yep.
proposed for removal. So tree 45, which is sort of midway in the house there, that is proposed for removal.
Yep.
46 is proposed for removal, which is just beyond the end of the house. There's a few on the east side, 2, 3, 4, 5, that are for removal. As I noted, right at the back, 40 and 41 are proposed for removal, but that's as part of the stewardship program.
Yep.
And there's a couple other back in the ravine lot, 37 and 91. But otherwise, the balance of the trees along that property line are proposed for retention.
Okay. I mean, it's to your client's benefit.
They want it, yeah.
Mature trees.
It's a beautiful
right,
lot.
right at the property line.
Yeah.
You can't get any better. Okay. I don't have any other questions. We've got Ms. Sankar, Mr. Margeri. Did you have any other questions before we take this into committee?
I don't have any question. Just you mentioned an alternative way of including addressing forestry concern.
Yes.
For those trees to be maintained. So if we include condition number 2, that would cover it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and I apologies for interjecting, they said, if despite urban forestry's recommendation, the Committee of Adjustment panel approves the requested variances, they asked that it be subject to submission of a complete application for a permit to injure or removed, which I think is the standard condition.
It's the condition number 2.
Yeah, it's just it's number 1 in the memo, but number 2 on a standard on a standard urban forestry memo, sir. Yes.
It is. It does get confusing because a TRCA and urban forestry is they have they're different numbers depending on.
Would we, Mr. Chair, say just subject to forestry? Because I feel like I don't think we know enough to start putting in which numbers specifically, or,
Sure.
You know what I mean? We should be hearing from forestry, and I was under the assumption it's number 2, but now I would just say it's subject to forestry if I were making a motion.
All right.
Mr. Chair, doesn't the forestry memo specify which condition if you approved it?
Mr. Chair, through you to staff, would you have enough if it was subject to the condition in the memorandum from Urban Forestry dated April 9th, 2026, and that would flag the alternate condition in the language they suggested, as opposed to using the standard urban forestry memo?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So condition 1 on April 9th, urban forestry.
Yes, thank you, sir, through you, Mr. Chair. Oh, and Mr. Chair, I apologize, there's also transportation. They have no objections, but they did ask that the site plan demonstrate compliance with 3 things, and I apologize, I should have mentioned that as well.
And we noted the community planning as well.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Community planning also has elevations attached in the report. They're the most recent, up to date. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. Let's take this into committee. Yes, Ms. Sankar.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, I think we've kind of gone through this application in a bit of depth as much as it was needed as well. It sounds like a beautiful development. And so I think that they're trying to be very sensitive and open to all of the various reports that, that inform an application of this magnitude. So I'm generally in the belief that it does meet the 4 tests. And so as a result of that, I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application. And I'm going to And I also thought it was interesting that there was sign support from not only neighbors, but the councillor, which never usually is the case. So bearing that, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the modifications that the applicant has put forward today. And that is also going to be, I guess, subject to the April 10th community planning staff report, which outlines those very modifications and adds a couple of extra conditions. And I'm also going to make it subject to the April 9th conditions that are listed in transportation's memo. And then in terms of forestry, I will make that subject to the April 9th memo that forestry had put forward to us. And I think I'll leave it there unless there's any other friendly amendments.
Friendly amendment, I just note that the staff report from planning's dated April 10th.
Yeah, I said April 10th.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And we have a ravine as well, dated April 9th.
Okay, and yes, so subject to ravine and natural features protection, April 9th memo.
Sorry, so urban forestry is condition 1 on that report, right? Okay.
Do you have number 1? Can we just confirm that? Because
I think I was incorporating forestry and RNFP together.
No, the actual memo,
Said-
not the standard one. Yeah. So condition 1 requires permit.
Did you confirm that? No. Yeah? Okay. We've got it up on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, second that by Mr. Marziari. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. You have your approval. Okay, let's call back Mr. Nitfill and Mr. Bartolo. Welcome back. So we just completed item number 8. Moving on to item number 9, 78 Goulding Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new detached dwelling with a balcony, pool, and cabana in the rear yard. Secondary suite is proposed at the basement level. 4 variances before us: east side yard setback, west side yard setback, side main wall height, and second story rear platform area. On file, a material from the applicant, as well as a report from community planning. And we have Mr. Benkowski back. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have some modifications
Yes,
on this? All
correct.
right, let's go through those.
Variance number 1, as per the planning memo, will increase the east side yard setback to 1.52 meters.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna ask my colleagues, actually, is nobody here to speak to this item, and we don't have anybody online, right? Okay. I'll ask my colleagues if they'd like a presentation from you. All right. Committee?
Absolutely.
Unless there's anything you'd like to add?
Nothing,
Okay.
nothing, Mr. Chair.
All right, you know how this goes. All right, let's take this into committee. Mr. Marziari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a straightforward application, so I don't have any concern. It meets the 4 tests, and I'm ready to make a motion to approve as amended.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I put forward a motion to approve this application as amended. Variance number 1 to be increased to 1.52, and I don't see any other condition. So that's my motion.
That's it. I think you've captured the only recommendation in the planning report was the modification, which was made. Okay, we have a seconder for that. Mr. Nitfill, all right, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, item number 10. 425 Rydell Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new detached dwelling and an ancillary building, garden suite specifically, in the rear yard of the property. Two variances, nope, few variances before us. For the main house, west side front porch slash balcony side setback, front porch, balcony, front yard encroachment, front yard soft landscaping, exterior main wall height, main pedestrian entrance height, FSI, west side yard setback. And for the garden suite, we have a variance for rear yard setback, east side yard setback, west side yard setback, garden suite height, and variance for front patio screening. On file material from the applicant, community planning report, urban forestry memo, and 6 letters in support. Welcome.
My name is Arvind Shpati. I'm the agent for the owner, 1287 Strath Avenue, Mississauga.
Thank you very much. And nobody here to speak to this item? Staff, nobody online, right? Okay. Right. Sir, there's some modifications we're going to make. All right, let's take us through the public notice and let us know what you'd like to modify today.
Yes, it's only for the garden suite, the modifications,
Okay.
rear yard setback from 0.9 to 1.3, side yard setback left and right from 0.9 to 1 meter. I have been in touch with
Okay, so it's 8 or 9 or both? Is the east side yard setback and the west?
I don't know why number 10 is written here, but it's only for the garden house. Side yard setback and the rear yard setback.
Okay, so let's, staff have got the public notice up. I see number 8, we've got a rear yard setback. Is there any modification to that variance?
It is. It is for the setback, rear yard setback, 1.3 meter. Before
So, okay, it's being increased. Number 8
it is modified, and already you have the drawings in front of you, revised drawings.
Okay, I just want to make sure we capture, though, for the record, the amendments to the public notice. So, and correct me if I've misspoken, but number 8, we're going to revise the proposed rear yard setback from 0.9 meters to 1.3 meters.
Exactly.
And as well, I think you mentioned number 9 or number 10?
Number 9 and number 10, they are side yard setbacks.
Yes.
From 0.9 to 1 meter modification with
To
agreement.
1 meter, okay.
Yeah.
On both sides?
Yes, both
Okay,
sides.
so staff, we've got 3 modifications for the garden suite, starting with the rear yard setback, changing to 1.3 meters. And on both the east side yard setback and the west side yard setback, that's variance number 9 and number 10, we're increasing that from 0.9 meters to 1 meter.
Exactly.
Very good. And did I miss anything? Okay. My next question. You're in line with the community planning report, I see. You've reviewed the report then? You've had some discussions with planning, I presume?
I have a condition from the forestry, which I agree with that.
And yes, we have the standard forestry
It's
condition.
number 1.
Okay, sir, I think we've captured everything. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they'd like a formal presentation from you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Nipville, has got a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell me whether variance 7, that's an existing setback on the existing building, is that correct? The
Yeah,
0.3?
yes.
And you're proposing to have the same for the addition?
For the addition, yes, the same.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. I will take this into committee. We'll get you a decision. Okay, let's move this into committee now. Mr. Nipville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't, excuse me, have any difficulties with the application. I did initially when I read the public notice because of the very minor setback on the west side, but it's an existing setback on the existing building, and extending it onto the addition I don't think creates any hardships. I think this is a reasonable development, and I think it clearly meets the 4 tests. So unless anyone else wants to raise points, I'd like to move a motion of approval for the modified application with variance number 8 at 1.3, variance number 9 at 1 meter, and variance number 10 at 1 meter. Those all relate to the garden suite. Excuse me, I noticed that there's approval from or support from one of the neighbors. Also a condition of forestry number 1, and I believe that's all the conditions.
All right. Second by Ms. Sankar. All in favor? All right, unanimous. You have your approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 11, 19 Canary Crescent. The purpose of the application is to construct a new dwelling. Variances include rear deck projection, driveway width, lot coverage, number of stories, rear yard platform encroachment, main wall height, east side yard setback, and west side yard setback. On file, material from the applicant, memo from transportation, and 2 letters in objection. We have our agent or applicants
Good afternoon,
with us.
Mr.
Welcome.
Chair. Alexander Overholt from 1140 the Queensway. Thank you.
All right, and staff, no one else online. We do have 2 individuals in person. I presume one of the neighbors? Okay, hang on there. I want to hear from Mr. Overholt first, and then I'm going to provide you an opportunity to present. Mr. Overholt, I'm going to staff are going to get the 5 minutes up on the screen. Whenever you're ready, please provide us a short presentation.
Before I can begin, there are some revisions to the proposal.
Oh, of course, yes, before we get that going. So we've got the public notice up. Take us through the changes.
Yes, variance number 3, which pertains to lot coverage, as you can see here. Yes, reduced to 32.89%. All right.
32.89% lot coverage.
Correct.
Okay.
Variance number 6, pertaining to the main walls height, reduced to 8.46. And variance number 7, regarding to the east side yard setback, which, if looking at the lot, is the left side, is increased from 1.2 to 1.3 meters.
All right. Any other modifications?
That is it, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Excellent. If you can kindly pull up the presentation on the screen, I'd be happy to get started. It's there should be a supporting material presentation it's on the AIC. This is not, this is just the drawings. Is it not part of the package?
We did receive some revisions in our late package.
Yes, we sent in supporting material last week. This is the cover letter. There is another supporting material documented as the presentation. Is that within the package? This was submitted prior to the deadline for AIC upload.
I will let, I'm going to ask staff to provide a response to that.
There it is. Perfect.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Excellent. If we can kindly scroll to page number 2 of the presentation, we see on the left 2 visuals. These visuals pertain to variance number 1, which is the encroachment of the rear platform. Now, as per the bylaw states, if we are higher than the required 1.2 meters, our deck can project 2.5 meters, right? However, because our deck is measured 1.67 above grade, we are projecting a proposed 3.66 meters, and that is establishing a variance. We have allowed the deck to remain uncovered to reduce the impact of the massing. And as per the diagram in the above, you do see that there is a lot of existing foliage that kind of protects the massing of the protruding deck. If we could please scroll to page number 4, if you don't mind. This talks about our lot coverage. Now, the original proposal did indicate a 33.91%. After communicating with community planning, they had a request for us to reduce our massing, and we carefully crafted a small percentage off of it to a 32.89%, which does sit with some of the previous approvals in the area. As you can see here, we did ensure that our massing is more staggered towards the rear of the property. So the perception of our entire mass and that increased lot coverage isn't necessarily perceivable as you drive by the front of the house. It's more contained towards the rear of the property. If you can please scroll to page number 6, which is the next page. This talks about some comparables in the local area. We did do our research prior to designing our proposal, and we did see some increase in lot coverages here. If you could please scroll to the page number 6, excellent. This diagram here on the left describes the technicality associated with why a structure is considered a 3-story structure. Our basement, that middle point, is below the average established grade. However, because we have a simple landing / mudroom that's accessible right off the rear of the garage, zoning is classifying as that part of the first floor. The rest of the structure is allocated towards the second and third structure floors. If you could kindly scroll to page 7 of this presentation. The next 4 pages speaks to our design strategy associated with the main wall height variances here, right? So we are proposing a main wall height of 8.46 meters. The required is 7.5. Sure, yes, numerically it is a large increase. However, we have localized the main wall height projections only where there are exterior windows. The next 4 pages show the main wall height highlighted in yellow for all to see. It is important to note that the dimension to the underside of eaves, or you could consider maybe 75% of the entire exterior facade, is measured to be 7.60 meters. Yes, it is 0.1 above the main wall height, but it does attempt to pay respect to the intent of the bylaw, of course. If you can kindly scroll to the next page, which is page 11. We have demonstrated some comparables, especially on Canary Street with elevated main wall heights. Now, page number 7 talks to the merits of our side yard setback. Sorry, not page number 7, my apologies, page number 12, the next page. This is just an illustration of our site plan, right? So we do have a tapered property line on the right. Portions of our staggered massing do project into the required setback, but not all of it, right? It is an awkward property line. It does force us to stagger the house backwards a bit. And in order to maintain a suitable floor plan, we did have to project into the required side yard setback. We do believe that there is still adequate space between the structures on the right and the structures on the left to mitigate any potential shadowing or privacy concerns. I do welcome any questions, of course, especially from the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Margeri.
Just a quick question. The side yard that you're increasing to 1.3 is the side that you have a straight property line and the building?
That is correct, yes. We are increasing it there. Because of the straight, flat wall there, the massing is a little more imposing, of course, so increasing it there does benefit, of course, the reduction of the lot coverage as well as any potential effect our structure may have to number 7.
Thanks, I understand.
All right, other questions? Okay, we have some other speakers. Welcome. We've got the mic on.
Yes.
All right, your name and address for us to get started.
Okay, good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Lily Leung, and this is my husband, Ronald Choi. We live in and own the adjacent property at 17 Canary Crescent. We are here today to respectfully express our objections to the proposed variances and to highlight the significant and adverse impacts of the proposed rear deck and associated build form on our property and our enjoyment of the home that we've been living in for the past 20+ years. Regarding variance number 1, the proposed deck is not minor in nature. This variance exceeds the permitted projection of 2.5 meters and results in a rear yard encroachment beyond what is allowed under the zoning bylaw. However, the concern is not simply numerical. This is not a modest deck. It is an elevated outdoor platform which is aligned with the southeast side of the rear main wall, necessitates the removal of 3.66 meter or 19.35% of the existing 40-year-old cedar hedge and the chain link fence and the 40-year-old honeysuckle hedge that exists between the new dwelling and our home. This will take away our privacy, and the deck itself directly is connected to the main living area. It's designed for active use, gathering, and outdoor living, and overlooks our entire backyard and eliminates all our privacy. This variance must be evaluated based on its real-world impact, not just its dimensions. Regarding variance number 3, drainage issues. The footprint of the new dwelling also significantly reduces the existing permeable green surface space. The rainwater will have nowhere to go now except to the adjacent properties. Bigger homes mean more hard surface and an increased surface and strength and stormwater runoff and decreased infiltration into the ground. Adverse drainage impacts already felt on our and 4 other Canary Crescent properties. Many of these homes have below-grade basement windows. As a result, we were granted an exception to disconnect downspouts. We applied for and received a written exemption in 2014. This proposed new dwelling will reduce the permeable surface which will adversely impact the stormwater drainage. The deck will also correct direct sight lines into our outdoor living area, our large rear-facing and west side bedroom windows, and our rear yard due to its elevation above grade, depth of projection, and use of transparent guardrails. This represents a clear and material loss of privacy, both indoors and outdoors, and effectively introduces a permanent overlook condition, which does not exist today and is not consistent with the established character of the neighborhood. Because the deck functions as a primary outdoor living space, it will increase the noise level, introduce frequent gatherings and activities, and extend the usable living space of the dwelling directly towards our property. This will impact our ability to quietly enjoy our backyard, which is a fundamental expectation in a low-density residential neighborhood. Regarding variance number 7, this setback and the fact that it will be a 3-story dwelling creates a massive shadow over our home and rear yard. So in conclusion, there is a cumulative impact of this overdevelopment. These elements result in a structure that extends further into the rear yard, increases the height and mass adjacent to our property, and amplifies outlook, shadowing, and visual intrusion. So the proposal taken as a whole represents overdevelopment of the site. It's also incompatible with our neighborhood character. The existing pattern of development on Canary Crescent is characterized by reasonable rear yard setbacks, limited projection of rear structures, and respect for privacy and separation between the homes. We respectfully submit that the requested variants are not minor, don't maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw, and not desirable for the appropriate development of the land. We request that the committee refuse these variances and reduce the size of the proposed rear deck. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The hedge that you're referring to, there doesn't seem to be any notice on the plans that it's to be removed except for a portion where there's an interlocking paving walkway. The remainder, we'll ask the applicant if it's going to be maintained, but the remainder is shown as continuing. How tall is that hedge?
The hedge is around 15 to 18 feet tall.
And have you had any conversations with the applicant about it being retained, not retained, removed, anything like that?
Yes, I was told that they will have to remove part of it in order to accommodate the deck and also the setback of the house.
And did they clarify which portion they were going to have to remove?
No, nothing in detail at the point.
Okay, we'll ask them that when he comes back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. You guys can step down. We're going to take it back to our agent for a response. Oh, yes.
Just one more thing. We sent in 3 questions to Brandon Clapp.
Okay.
We have not received any of this back since a week ago. So is it possible I can bring that up here?
3 questions
Yes.
to Brandon?
Well, yeah, pertaining to this project.
Are they direct? What's the nature of the question?
Okay, so the first one is, I'd like to find out what happened to the existing home owner if they decide to sell the house, and if any approval, if they go through, are they transferable or assignable to the new homeowner in the event?
Okay.
That's the first one. And also, is there a time limit on that? Let's say if it's approved and then...
I think maybe staff would be best to answer those questions. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, we've got some questions concerning the time, like whether approvals can get transferred to new property owners. I think I know the answer, but I might not be the right person to answer it. And another question
yes.
concerning the...
Yeah, it's regarding about the rainwater runoff, because what happened is we got exempt from having the downspout cut off because we are at the lowest elevation according to the survey. And we'd like to know what kind of measure is going to be to mitigate the rainwater after the house is rebuilt.
I can speak to the third one. So the rainwater is a building code related matter. If you have an issue with respect to drainage water, if they were to receive approval and file for an application, I would encourage you to be a part of that discussion. You reach out to usually the building inspector after a permit's issued. They can address that. But they're required, any of the applications that come before us today, in order to build, if they require a building permit, have to comply with the building code. Building code has very specific provisions for matters that address storm runoff, water, all of those things. They have to comply with that. It's not, unless we're dealing with variance for example, soft yard landscaping, something from the zoning that may affect that, it's not really a matter that is before us. If there's it's more of a technical building related matter. Is that helpful?
Yes, I know. As the homeowner next door, when do we have a say about the permit processing?
Well, if they are approved with their variances, they can go and apply for a permit. There's a point at which you'd be notified. I think that information's online. They won't notify if they apply for a permit, but that information sometimes is online. But the permit's issued, they're going to put the permit in the window, right? You can call the Toronto building, right, the building inspector, and you can share your concerns with them and just say, look, hey, maybe just something to keep on your radar, right? But as I said, those matters are addressed separately through the Ontario Building Code.
Mm-hmm.
They're not zoning related matters.
I understand.
Okay, and with respect to transferring any decision over or a timeline, that's probably best answered by staff, which we're almost at our lunch break. Maybe you can speak with them, and maybe our Deputy Secretary Treasurer has some comments you'd like to add.
Sure, quickly. So just by extension of what you said, thank you very much. If anyone would or could look at our participation handbook, it lists what committee does not have jurisdiction to review. One of them is drainage, along with construction. So to answer your other question, generally the approved variances run with the property and not with the owner, but I say that with a caveat because, if it's tied to plans or the plans have substantially changed, I would always check with Toronto Buildings again if the approved variances could still result in a building permit.
Yeah. In terms of our decision-making, I'll be honest, it's really irrelevant, whatever their intention is. Our only concern is to determine whether each of the variances conforms with the 4 tests. And ownership doesn't really come into play there. So, okay?
Yeah, just one last question.
All right, make it brief though.
It's about the privacy concern with all the, the building is going to be 3-story high, the windows overlooking in our backyard. Today, we have total privacy because of the 15-feet hedge alongside.
Right.
And part of it is going to be cut off, and we like to see how the committee address this privacy concern on our behalf.
Okay, of course. So we've noted a privacy concern. I'd like to hear from the agent or applicant about how they might mitigate some of those sightline impacts from what they're proposing. Maybe we can get some answers. All right?
Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You can both sit down.
All right.
We're going to go back to our agent now. Mr. Overholt?
Thank you, and thank you to both yourself, Mr. Chair, for explaining certain items and to the neighbors for posing their concerns. I will do my best to address as many of the concerns and questions as possible, right? One, pertaining to privacy, that from the vantage point of the rear projecting deck. As per, I think it's page number 2 of the presentation, we are proposing to maintain a vast majority of that existing hedge on the left. You can see this in the top right diagram. Zoom into that, you'll see that only the first, probably 5th of that hedge on the left is going to be removed. The rest is to be maintained. I do believe that the height of these existing hedges, as indicated by the neighbors, does, of course, provide ample privacy. Now, if not enough, we would be happy to install privacy fencing that meets their needs, whether that's to be discussed now or to be discussed between the homeowner and themselves. We're happy to entertain that. Pertaining to the inquiry about overlook, we do have localized windows on the left elevation, one area, right? Now, regardless if it's a 3-story or a 2-story structure, which you could view it as a technicality, there is no building height variance being imposed here. So those windows, regardless if it's a 2 or 3-story structure, would be there regardless, right? Now, we don't want to impose our massing onto any of the structures, which is why we have this eaves condition to be developed throughout the parameter of our structure, why we only have increased main wall heights in localized regions, right? And a 1.3 meter left side yard setback versus a 1.8 meter side yard setback. That difference in massing, yes, is noticeable, but the impact from a privacy standpoint, or perhaps a shadowing standpoint, it would have a very, very similar impact. And now I do sympathize with the neighbors to the left, and I want to ensure them that, as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, during, of course, the construction process and even prior to that, we will do everything we can to ensure that our retained civil engineer develops a stormwater management plan that ensures all stormwater drainage that comes onto this property is localized and properly drained, right? And we are not pursuing any softscape variances associated with this property. Now, the neighbors did discuss about how this structure does not necessarily fit the character of this neighborhood. If you could kindly scroll to the final page of this presentation, we have some examples of properties on Canary Street that are of similar nature, where they have the increased main wall heights, they have the 3-story condition, they have the lowered basement as well, right? So there is precedent in the area. It is, as you can see with 45 Canary, a common thing that is starting to be developed in the area. Now, we didn't want to impose additional massing with parapets, which is why we've done what we can to reduce the main wall height where we can. I hope that provides some clarity. If I missed anything, or of course you have any more questions for myself, happy to answer them.
All right, any questions? Mr. DeVille, please.
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Overholt, it might be helpful if on your site plan, as you proceed on, you indicated that the existing hedge, with the exception of that very small portion by the corner of the house, that your intention is that that hedge is to be retained.
That's completely fine, not only on our site plan, but we will ensure that our arborist report and tree protection plan indicates that.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? All right, I see none. Let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Margeri. Or Mr. Nipfel, do you want to get started?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the modified application is supportable. The concern about privacy and the uncovered porch, I think has been addressed by the retention of the existing bordered hedge, which the vast majority of is going to remain. The other thing I would note is that that side of the porch that faces number 17 is also partially bricked, and there's a proposed hedge proposed along the side of adjacent to that brick wall. So I think that the applicant has done everything possible to make privacy a high concern, and I think his response is reasonable. That was the only concern that I thought was worth investigating, and I think with the proposals that are before us, this is a supportable application.
All right. Very good. My only concern really, this is very slight, but, you know, for the amount of depth on the lot, you know, usually when I see two variances that are working against each other, so one, in this case, deck projection, and then the other is an encroachment of a deck into a rear yard setback, usually it's kind of two flags going off with respect to the bylaw. It kind of tells me, hey, take a look at this. It is mitigated. I do acknowledge it is mitigated quite a bit, the fact that the deck has quite a bit of a side yard setback on both sides, so they're not coming too close to the property line, and we are only talking about 0.1 meter encroachment into the rear yard setback. But if I was really, you know, picking at it, I might look at a refusal of number 5, but I don't know that a 0.1 meter difference on that rear deck is going to make much, if any, of an impact in terms of the neighbors. It would just provide a little bit more relief in the back and get one more variance. Other than that, given that this is clearly an area that is in transition, and seeing some of the newer buildings that are coming forth in the immediate area, I think it's a supportable application. If anyone maybe wants to make a motion, unless they have comment, Mr. Bartolo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Yeah, I think in general it's a supportable application, although I do recognize that the neighbors' comments, and I understand their concerns about the drainage and some of their privacy issues. Like you said, the drainage specifically is dealt with at the building permit stage and has to be dealt with in a proper proper design and constructed manner. So, and then I agree with Mr. Nimfeld's comments that the area is transitioning a little bit, and there are some, frankly, larger homes that fit this typology within the local context. And to that end, the modifications made here, I think, provide some of that relief and meet the 4 tests. So I'll put forward a motion to approve this application, subject to the following revisions. Variance number 3 be reduced to 32.89%. Variance number 6 be changed to 8.46 meters. And variance number 7 be increased to 1.3 meters. And that is all.
Perhaps a friendly amendment, just given some of the main wall height. I think there was some testimony put forward that those main wall heights really only pertain to specific dormers. I don't know if how other members feel about this, but perhaps we may tie the 4 elevation drawings to those height variances. And I also don't know, given the nature of the side yard setback, the fact that it sort of undulates with the property line, those setbacks really only
The
are
site
for
plan,
very
we can also
specific
tie it
moment.
to- yeah, we can
That, so I
also
was
tie
gonna
it to-
suggest maybe the site plan as
Yeah,
well.
in principle, I have no issues having it develop substantially so in accordance. So I'm going to come out of my motion for a second because my only issue is there were some modifications made, and those
Oh.
drawings are not reflected in this package.
You're right, yeah.
Unless there was a new package received by staff after those modifications.
Yeah, do we have any updated drawings on that, the modifications? I might need, yeah, perhaps some clarification is warranted. I don't like to do this, but I'm gonna take us out of committee for just a moment. Let's go back to our agent, Mr. Overholt, and just get some clarification with respect to whether or not the modifications that were made to variance 3, 6, and 7 appear on any of the material that's before us today.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I understand the confusion too, because I also was searching for them. But if you look at the document that's uploaded, it simply says CA revisions. That does illustrate the public notice and the zoning waiver. Once you scroll to the bottom of it, the revised drawings are there for sure.
Oh, great, okay.
Which document is it?
What, and what would be
So
the
you
correct?
see it,
Yep.
I do believe you see it right here. It does show that the proposed side yard setback on the left side of the site plan is indicated at 1.30.
This is the late material package, right?
Yeah, what date are those drawings dated? That's all we need here.
We sent those on, I think it was Thursday of last week before end of day to
What
Brendan Clark.
dates on the, what written date is on the drawing? So if we were to see
Oh,
the
my
decision, I need to
apologies.
reference these drawings.
Yep. 1 second.
There's no
I understand where
number
you're-
and there's no date.
In which case, we just have to go by the filing date with the city, which sometimes has a stamp on them.
These ones aren't stamped either.
No?
I could say the ones in the late submission package, received in the late submission
Do
package.
we have a indicator for the drawing?
Nothing on my end, Mr. Chair. There's no visible difference as a documentation standard from date or revision number. I do apologize for that. However, I do believe that, of course, the notice decision, the time, the elevations of plans would ensure that the revised drawings do pass the zoning certificate standpoint BP process.
All right, and they, in terms of substantially in accordance with these drawings, for the most part, reflect the modifications that were made, is my understanding.
Indeed.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
we adjusted the side yard setback, the main wall height.
Okay.
And because the side yard setback was reduced, the lot coverage was reduced.
All right, Mr. Bartolo,
Problem.
that's
So
a wording.
I think I can figure it out. We'll tie it to the site plan, and what was our concern, the elevations?
The four elevations.
elevations.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back into committee. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Overholt.
So I will amend my previous motion. I'll still make a motion to approve this application subject as modified and make it subject that it be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan and elevations received in the Committee of Adjustment late submission package.
One more friendly amendment for your consideration, that the porch, rear porch, basement or underneath remain unexcavated
We'll accept that friendly amendment
And also
add-
uncovered.
and uncovered. Thank you, uncovered, as Mr.
And-
Marziari adding.
add a condition that the uncovered porch remain unexcavated and unenclosed.
Unexcavated below grade. Is that okay? Unexcavated, you mean, I'm talking about the basement area.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's clear
Unexcavated
enough.
below.
Okay, below, unexcavated. We're referring to the basement.
Is that clear for staff, or do we need a
I believe so. I just wanted to comment on the one condition about tying it to the late submission package. We're going to include a date because at permit time, the zoning examiner doesn't have access to our late folder. So they're going to want to know. So we'll attach the appropriate date stamp
to
or
the-
some other marking that it's clear.
Fantastic, but as long as staff know which drawings we're tying to. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, Mr. Bartolo, thank you very much for that
problem.
motion. Mr. Marziari will second that. Thank you for that amendment. All in favor of the motion? That's unanimous. That application as amended is approved with condition.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Have a wonderful
All
day.
right. Okay, a lot there. Okay, we're on to the last item of the morning slot, 177 JOICEY Boulevard. Purpose of the application is to construct a new detached dwelling with a built-in garage. For variances before us: side main wall height, building length, west side yard setback, and lot coverage. On file, material from the applicant. We have an urban forestry memo and a letter in support. And our agents in person, welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Robert Bader, B-A-D-E-R. I reside at 38 Albany Street with an I. That's in Etobicoke.
All right, and nobody else in person or online to speak to this item today? Mr. Bader, I appreciate you coming down. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they'd like a presentation. I've reviewed the file. I don't need a presentation, but maybe my colleagues do, or they have questions. Okay.
I also
Mr.
don't need a presentation. I just have a quick question.
Questions for you. Mr.
Certainly,
Marziari
certainly.
and then Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just variance number 3, the west side yard setback. What's the existing side yard setback?
The current side yard setback is 0.23 meters on the west
You're
side.
improving that.
We are improving the side yard setback on the west side.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Mr.
thank you,
Nipfel,
Mr.
please.
Chair. My question was that, as well as, could you tell me what has changed since this was previously before committee?
Through an intensive redesign and through deliberations with over a bulletin, interpretation bulletin with the building department, we've reduced it from 3 stories to 2 stories. That's the substantial change that's been made.
Okay, thank you very much.
I do note there was a previous application at committee was refused. It's a very good question there. I'd also, just to clarify, so drawing A09 as a front elevation drawing, and you've, is it fair to say that on either side you've indicated more or less, I realize that information isn't always available to the exact dimension, but more or less represented the neighboring properties on either side there?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, very helpful drawing, I might say. It's something that we struggle with sometimes in applications. They come, we'll see a building, but we won't understand the context because we don't have specifically the transition between a main wall and a roof, so we can understand how that all aligns on the street.
No, and you're correct, Mr. Chair. This is a response. This is a new application, but it is a response
Yes.
to the previous application. So we really do believe that we've addressed all the those original concerns that were challenged with last year.
Very good, very good. Okay, other questions? Okay, I might have an expedited process for you. If it's all right with you, I could take this into committee. No presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yes, let's move into committee. Mr. Bartolo.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In reading the previous submission versus this, although this is a new submission, I can see that the applicant has made some fairly significant changes. Numerically, I'm not seeing anything that's earth-shattering here. I think it's a supportable application. I'm prepared to put forward a motion to approve this application, subject to the conditions of the urban forestry memo attached.
All right, Mr. Nipfel, that's a second. All right, do a second for the motion. All in favor? That is unanimous. Congratulations, you got the approval.
Appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you.
All right, everybody, the time is 12:43. That concludes our morning session. We will resume at 2 p.m. sharp, starting with item 13 for 111 Bridgeland Avenue. And I will do my best to get through the agenda as quickly and as efficiently as possible. All right, have a good lunch, everybody.